And salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around to talk about our favorite things in the world: movies, movie news, TV, and streaming, all sorts of good stuff. Guys, congratulations. It's the beginning of a brand new week. We hope you have a great one ahead of you. Joining me today, sitting right here, is the one and the only Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Beside him, the ever delightful Chris Carr. Ray Ora is sitting back there joining us. And beside him, we got Jonathan Voico running the show. Of course, we got Taylor over here as well. And most importantly, you guys are here. Thanks so much for joining us and making this part of your day. Here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it down into two parts. First half of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you'd like to get a live comment or question on the show, two things. Number one, you got to be watching live. Number two, when we get to the end of the main topics, we'll announce that we're opening up the super chats. And we just leave them open for just a couple of minutes. And that'll be your chance to get in your thoughts, theories, opinions, and questions. And we will address those in the second half of the show. All right. Also, a little bit of housekeeping here. I want to remind you guys that if you need your daily fix of the John Campea Show, you can't be in front of a YouTube video, there's good news. There's an audio-only version of our show, simply called the John Campea Show Podcast. Just go and look it up on your favorite podcasting app of choice. All right, guys, we got a lot of stuff to cover here today, so let's dive right into it, shall we, with a couple of off the tops. And the first one is this. It is fair to say that over the last couple of weeks, one of the projects I have most been looking forward to seeing is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. This has just looked absolutely delightful, and especially coming off of that gut-wrenchingly disappointing Tom Hanks Pinocchio, which was just awful. Certainly been looking forward to seeing this, and especially coming out of some of the festival circuits, and the fact that some of the early awards things that have been going around, a couple of, not all of them, but a couple of them have been naming Pinocchio as the animated film of the year. Some people even suggesting that Pinocchio could in fact get maybe a Best Picture nomination at the Academy Awards. Now, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but hearing that kind of stuff, and just the fact that it's Guillermo del Toro, he is a master storyteller, whether it doesn't matter if he's doing Blade or if he's having women making out with fishmen. It doesn't matter. He makes great films, Academy Award winning great films. So I sat down and I started watching Pinocchio. I was a little underwhelmed. I'll be honest with you. Wow. It did not live up to the hype for me. Now, the first 10 minutes of the movie, I'm not going to spoil anything, but you know the story of Pinocchio. The first 10 minutes of the movie are likened unto the first few minutes of Up. It's heart-wrenching. Absolutely heart-wrenching. It was off to a great start. Visually, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Every frame of this movie is absolutely beautiful and gorgeous in the animation. The voice cast was perfection. The voices matching the characters was absolutely perfect. It was fantastic. And then Pinocchio shows up. And just to give you guys a little bit of insight, my wife Ann, who's watching it with me, she got up about 20 minutes in the movie and she goes, I don't think I can take this anymore. I want Pinocchio to die. He's a little bitch. And I remember thinking, you're not completely wrong. I mean, if I was Geppetto and I was living with that Pinocchio thing for like 5 minutes, I probably would have thrown it in the furnace. I probably would have thrown it in the fireplace. Now, thankfully, the character Pinocchio does grow and all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing for me. This is a good movie. Don't get me wrong. When I choose my words a little underwhelmed rather than bad or anything. It's not bad. The themes are very mature. It's a much darker, it's Guillermo del Toro. It's a much darker take on Pinocchio than we've ever seen, which we expected no less coming out of del Toro. There's a lot of stuff getting into like dealing with like the fascist era with, you know, the Nazis and Mussolini and all this kind of stuff. That was pretty interesting. There was an interesting take on the circus, which was kind of different than anything we've seen before. Again, the voice acting was fantastic. Couple things though. They tried to make it a semi-musical. None of the songs were catchy. Like none of them were particularly catchy at all. Like I couldn't hum one tune back to you right now out of any of the music. Now that's not the make or break of any movie. I'm just saying that they decided to go for the musical aspect of it, and that didn't quite work. Also, the humor in it didn't work. I think I maybe chuckled once, and this is not a comedy, so that's not the biggest sin in the world, but they did try many times to have something be funny, and I just, that wasn't funny. The one funny line that I laughed, I won't tell you who says it. I won't give you the context at all. Because I do not like this puppet. Burn everything. When you see it in context, you'll get it. Because I know that line doesn't sound funny. In context, that was pretty funny. It was a pretty funny moment. And here's the main problem with it. And we're going to talk about this a little bit when we get around to talk about Willow as well. They never sold the bond between Geppetto and Pinocchio to me. I never believed for a second that Geppetto developed a fatherly affection for this puppet. And without that emotional hook, a lot of the other stuff kind of falls flat. Now, it's really interesting. They take a really neat creative approach. Instead of a great whale, there's a great sea beast. They make it, Guillermo del Toro takes some liberties with some things, and it's really cool the way he does it. But it's just that once you get past the fact that it's dark, I just found some of the deeper, really cool themes they were going for were actually applied a little bit thin, and therefore didn't have the emotional impact that I think they were designed to have. Again, it's a beautifully gorgeous looking film. I love the fact that he tried to attach some more heavier adult themes to it as well. It's a very nihilistic ending. The ending to it is extremely nihilistic, and whatever floats your boat. But yeah, for me, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it was good, but you guys know, I was going into this movie extremely hyped. Like, people talking about best picture potential and all this kind of stuff. And I need to note, there are a lot of people out there saying they love the film. So me saying that I found it a little bit overwhelming, take that with a grain of salt. That's just me. There's a lot of other people saying they really, really love it. So if you're on the fence about it, check it out. Check it out for yourself. See what you think about it. I think there are a lot of pros to it. Again, just for me, by the end of it, I thought it was definitely several degrees better than the Tom Hanks Pinocchio, for sure. It is the best Pinocchio film of the year. I was just coming from Guillermo del Toro and the beauty of it. I was just going in a little bit more. What have you been hearing about it, Chris? And where's your anticipation level for this movie been?
Well, I'm very excited about this because I love stop motion animation. It's one of my favorite mediums.
And this is execution-wise, this is one of the best stop motion animation things in an execution way I've ever seen.
And that's what I keep hearing, is that this is just stunning work. And I'm very excited to hear that you two enjoy the vocal cast, because that's what I've been hearing too. Taylor, you really liked it, right?
I loved it.
Yeah, because when we talked about it, you were just like gushing about this.
Okay, first thing,
I'm excited
nobody cares what Taylor thinks. So
I do. He's my buddy. He's my little Christmas pal. But like, I'm really excited to see this one though, because I just love his work. Guillermo del Toro, typically for me, there have only been one or two films that did not resonate with me that he's done.
I don't know that any of his has resonated with me. I just think he's amazing.
I wasn't a big fan of the last year's
Fish in the Water.
No, the Alley one, the Hollywood one. What was that?
Oh, that's right. The one he did with Bradley Cooper. Nightmare Alley.
Nightmare Alley.
That's right.
Just because within the first 15 minutes, I was like, oh, I know how this goes.
All right.
And that one just didn't do it for me. But I think this looks really, really fun, and I'm excited to see it. And I've mostly heard good things, so I'm surprised that it was a little underwhelming for you.
I am curious, Taylor, like the couple things that I pointed out that really didn't work. The music didn't work for me. I never felt the emotional. Did that stuff work for you? Does those elements work for you?
Yeah, it did. The music was really good. I didn't know that it was going to be like a heavily leaning towards being a musical, but the design of the characters, the creatures, I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, we put up an image of one of the
blue fairy.
The blue, yeah.
Oh my God, gorgeous.
So unique to me. The design of Pinocchio himself, I'm like obsessed with the head and having one ear and like the back of his head. There's a Funko of him that's coming out, so I know I'm going to order a couple of those. But what's really cool is on Netflix, there's also a about 30-minute documentary about the making of this. I think it's called like Hand Carved Cinema.
Ooh.
And then that would be good.
I just found out right now, MoMA's having a art gallery, I think with like pieces from the film. It's now through April 15th. Called Crafting Pinocchio, and that I'm going to have to check out because I just want to spend more time with these characters and in this world, and to see this stuff in person would be so awesome.
The monkey was the best character in the movie. The monkey.
Spazzatura.
Yeah. The monkey is the best character in the movie, I thought. But anyway, guys, that's just kind of my thoughts on Pinocchio. Again, I'm surprised. I've been dying to see this. I love Guillermo del Toro. I love the fact that he incorporated more adult themes, but it just didn't execute. I don't know, for me. Whatever. Guys, it's now out on Netflix. Did you guys have a chance to see Pinocchio? If so, what did you think of it? Did you think it was brilliant like a lot of other people do? Were you a little bit underwhelmed by it like I was? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's do a second off the top here, shall we? And we're going to stay in the realm of TV and stuff like that with this. You know, the first Lucasfilm journey outside of Star Wars since going over to Disney is not Indiana Jones, but it's Willow. And I remember they surprised a lot of us when they said they were going to do, bring back Willow and they were going to do a sequel series of it. And to which I kind of pulled a Chris Carr and said, for why? But I mean, I love Warwick Davis, so anything that puts him on the screen more, I'm totally good with. And then, I still wasn't all into it, but the trailers looked pretty cool. The trailers looked fairly appealing. So we went in and watched the first 2 episodes that dropped of Willow. And of course, we did a review of those first 2 episodes. I was kind of underwhelmed by them, to be honest with you. And then I watched the newest episode last week. Last week's the newest episode that's out currently. There's a new one coming out tomorrow at midnight. And again, for me, flat. Like, it was really, really flat. And I had somebody write to me yesterday, and this is why I'm bringing it up as an off the top. Somebody wrote to me yesterday and asked, is this thing even worth watching? Because they hadn't started it yet. And I had to actually go back and go, you know what? Honestly, no, it's not worth watching. And they wrote back, oh, what is it about it that doesn't work and all this kind of stuff. Here's the thing about it. Remember I was talking about how with Pinocchio, I never felt that moment where Geppetto actually became emotionally bonded to Pinocchio, right? That one little example kind of to me explains all of Willow so far. I just don't believe or feel or have been able to experience any of the bonds between any of the characters, like at all. And if you had given me a 2-page treatment of the first 3 episodes of Willow, said, okay, this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then episode 3 ends with this happening, I would probably look at it and go, that's pretty good. That looks like a really nice skeleton of a story. The problem is, it feels like they took that skeleton of a story and handed it to a high school drama club and said, make something out of this. And which is unfortunate because it's being made by some really talented people, which is why it's so disappointing, because there are some extremely, extremely talented people associated with this thing. But like, I'll give you an example. Same thing in last week's episode. If you're watching the show, Willow's buddy dies, and I felt nothing, because despite the fact that they had a couple of lines of dialogue between the two of them through the show, they never made you feel the bond, right? If you're going to have emotional climaxes, you have to do the emotional building first to have that payoff. And that doesn't mean you needed more time, but you got to use the time that you give those characters to make us feel and believe and love that relationship. So when the one guy dies and Willow's torn up, I'm like, When the mentor character dies too, it was the same thing. It's like, yeah, you had some pithy lines of dialogue. I've raised you, girl. I was like, okay, yeah. When that dude dies, it's like, I didn't feel anything. When something is happening where you're supposed to feel excitement, they didn't do anything to make it. It's almost like there's an assumption that this is happening, therefore you should feel excited. And it's like, no, that's happening. That's how you build emotion around it to get us excited about it. And they just never did. And so this whole show, the 3 episodes, I'm like almost 3 hours into the show now. And it all feels like very light, very high school drama club, just empty calories. It just feels like empty calories. And that's funny because I have nothing overtly, hugely negative to say about this show. It's not like there's anything I can point at in Willow so far as, well, that's stupid, and oh, they did that terribly, and oh, that person's performance is awful. Like, I've got none of those. It's just a complete abject lack of anything good. It's just there. Warwick Davis charms the hell out of you the whole time he's on screen, as he always does. I love him. I could just hear a 3-hour recording of him saying, Alora. I could hear him just saying that. And it whisks me away, makes me feel nostalgic. It's fantastic. But it just seems to be a very paint by numbers, no emotional investment. It's just a not well done, put together thing. I don't know. How far along are you into Willow at this point?
I've seen 3 episodes.
So you've seen all 3 that are out so far?
Yeah.
Where are you on this?
And I have to say that I kind of feel the way you do. I was surprised, like, if you're going to do a show called Willow doesn't even show up till the end of the first episode. And it's not about him. And I'd be curious, like, I would have thought, if you're going to tell a story, what's it like when somebody young has this incredible adventure in their life that becomes, hugely formative, and that person up until then, and then years later, not much happens to them. And Willow's kind of he's living his best life in his community and everything. And
he's Bilbo.
Well, in a sense he is, but I don't get the sense that he wants to just sit home and write Bilbo wanted adventures too, but it's the central problem of the story is not really Willow's. He's like swept up in it and feels, well, I guess I have an obligation to go on this story. And I thought that the characters that they introduced in the beginning, it's like Joanne Whaley's in a different show. I thought she was great, and she's really involved. But even these characters, their character traits felt very modern. Everyone. I didn't believe
Well, Lady Hawk did the same thing.
Well,
right?
but I mean,
sometimes that can work.
But I mean, but even in Lady Hawk, the music was modern, but the characters felt of a
Really?
piece.
Even Matthew Broderick's? You think
I
so?
thought so.
Okay.
I mean, the humor was, but with these characters, I'm like, I honestly don't care about any of these characters.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
care about Willow. Like, I get it. They wanted to update this and make this contemporary in certain ways, and I'm like, but why? If you're using fairy tale and fantasy tropes, I think the first thing you should concentrate on is your main character. What's his, and John, I hate to say this, I kept thinking about Top Gun Maverick. In Top Gun Maverick, Maverick has become an iconoclast. He's one of a kind. He's the last of his breed, and he's out there hanging his ass on the edge every day where he's got to be, and that made him interesting. At the end, when Ed Harris says, "Why'd you even bother? The drones are going to replace you, and that might be so, sir, but not today." And you love that guy, and I wanted to love Willow. I wanted and Willow needs an excuse to leave, to go off on another adventure. And the show isn't about him per se. He's just a secondary character in his own show.
Yeah.
And that's what bothered me about it. These other characters, I'm like, whatever. They seem like really lazy, modern, tropey constructs. And I was expecting more of this show. You know what? I wanted more magic.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy show that is lacking magic.
Chris, have you had a chance to be watching Willow? If so,
I haven't gotten to watch any, and I really liked the original. December and January are nightmare months for me in the best way possible, but there's a lot going on, and we also had a very rough weekend. But I'm holding out hope. My plan is to binge this when we're on hiatus and just watch everything all at once after watching the movie, because I really liked that world. And I felt like the original one, when I rewatched that too, did have modern sensibilities, and it felt like it was more timely than the usual kind of high RP kind of language that's used in a lot of fantasy. So I don't know, maybe I'll have a different reaction than you guys.
but here's the in that original though, I bought into the bonds. In the original, when Willow's talking with his wife and stuff, it just, you felt it. They got me emotionally hooked into it. And with this, it's just it's all so surface. It's like they had this great, like I said, I think you break down the plot into a 2-page treatment, it reads really well. I think, that'll be cool, but then you got to flesh it. And I just feel like they haven't fleshed it. And I think I am now tapped out of Willow. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Have you been watching the first 3 episodes of Willow? If so, what do you think? Maybe you're one of the people who's really enjoying it and you're loving it so far. That's awesome. Maybe you're kind of like me, or you're kind of underwhelmed by what you've seen so far. Whatever you guys feel about Willow, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Before I go on, I forgot to tell you guys, speaking of Disney and stuff like that, you know what I'm doing today after the main show? I'm going to Disneyland I know.
What?
How
I know.
dare you, sir?
Wow.
How'd they
dare
get you
you.
back?
Here's how they did. Ann and I have some friends who really want us to go with them, and they have one of these free park hopper passes. So they said, "Listen,
Disney shill.
because I told them I'm
Disney
never.
shill.
I told them I'm never going. I'm never giving Disney another fucking dollar. Screw that place. I hope it burns to the ground.
Whoa.
Now, if a fire starts there tomorrow, I'm going to be getting.
Oh my God.
FBI.
Disney Gestapo's coming after
That
you.
place,
man.
that place can burn to the ground for all I care. But they said, listen, we really want you to come in. Ann really wants me to go. And we've got this free thing, and you get free food with it. You won't have to spend a dime. I'm like, all right, for Ann and you guys, I will go. So I am actually going to Disneyland one more time, which might prove I'm actually more cheap than principled. I don't know. Maybe I'm just super cheap, but yeah, I'm going to go to Disneyland today for the first time in almost 2 years. After being a season pass holder for like 8 years in a row. Yeah. But yeah, fuck that place. Anyway,
I'm going Wednesday and Thursday.
are you going?
Yeah.
Well, I hope you have fun.
I will. I love it there.
Must be nice to be footloose and fancy free.
Footloose and fancy free. Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, listen, you know what? Before we get into the rest of our stuff today, we're going to take a second and thank one of the sponsors of our video today. I love these guys. They're one of our first sponsors too. Our good friends over at HelloFresh. We want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. It is the most festive time of the year, and HelloFresh is here to help make the most of every moment. From holiday hosting to dinners during busy weeknights, you can count on HelloFresh to deliver fresh ingredients and seasonal recipes. Because 'tis the season for saving money wherever we can. HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery store shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout. You can use those savings for holiday gifts or treat yourself. Guys, you know, I've told you before that with Ann and I both being working professionals, finding time to prepare dinner together can be a chore, but HelloFresh has made it easy and fun for us to make our own meals, and most importantly to me, they're delicious. You will actually enjoy making dinner. So right now, go to HelloFresh.com/Campea18 and use the code Campea18 for 18 free meals plus free shipping. Once again, go to HelloFresh.com/Campea18 and use the code Campea18 for 18 free meals plus free shipping. And thank you to our friends at HelloFresh for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys. With that down, let's get over now to our Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. If you guys have a question, we'd love to hear your voice on our show. Just call our hotline number. You see right there on the screen, 951-268-4259. Call it anytime, leave a voicemail, and maybe you'll hear your voice on the show. So let's get over to our hotline question today.
Hey, John. My name's Lauren. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I want to know what you think about this. Taylor Swift recently broke even more records when the pre-sale for her upcoming tour broke Ticketmaster's system. They said that if the amount of people who wanted tickets for her show were to actually get tickets, she would have to play 900 shows to satisfy the amount of fans who wanted to see her. With the news of her directing her first feature film coming out, I want to know what you think realistically the box office numbers for her opening weekend could look like, knowing that she has this massive fan base that will support her come hell or high water, and also knowing that we don't even know what the movie could be about or if she actually has the chops when it comes to directing a feature film. Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling that in. And, you know, this came up last week. For those of you who missed the news, it was announced that Searchlight, now under Disney, since Disney acquired Fox and Searchlight was owned by Fox, Searchlight Pictures has officially announced Taylor Swift is going to be making her directorial debut for a full-length feature film based on a script that apparently she has written. Now, I probably surprised a lot of you when I told you I wasn't against this, because like Chris pointed out, a really valid point, that she's just following the same kind of career path that a lot of other directors have done. Do some music videos, do a short film or two, and then take a crack at a feature film. And I'm all for a first-time director doing a smaller, independent style of feature film, like a Searchlight picture. That's the perfect place. You know, you don't want her coming out of the gate and doing Avengers 5 or something like that.
Fantastic Four by Taylor
Fantastic
Swift.
Four, directed by Taylor Swift. All the Fantastic Four are her ex-boyfriends, and they all learned how wrong they were and how badly they treated her.
Loki was one of them, wasn't he?
What's that?
Yeah.
Wasn't Tom Hiddleston?
I think
Oh,
so.
that could get
Yeah.
juicy.
So I'm actually like, I'm all for it. Go ahead. And if she's got the chops, great. And if she doesn't, fine. No big deal. But one of the questions that has come up a lot is, is this thing a guaranteed blockbuster, whatever it is? Because you ain't wrong. This woman kind of rules the world right now. Like, I have never in my life heard of a single music artist holding all 10 spots on the top 10 chart at the same time. Never happened before. I don't think it'll ever happen again. It's absolutely nuts. Her popularity is unmatched. So, does that automatically mean the opening weekend box office of whatever her movie's going to be called is going to be huge? Because, like you mentioned, she has armies of fans. I'd pump the brakes on that a little bit. I would pump the brakes on that a little bit, and here's why. Obviously, on the one hand, she has a massive following. She has very loyal and dedicated fans who are going to support, what do they call themselves? Swifters? Swifties. They call themselves Swifties that will support whatever she does, whenever she does it. Absolutely. But what history has taught us is that people who are fans of individuals tend to generally just be fans of those individuals doing the things they do. Here's a good example. That piece of shit, Chris Brown. He did like some dance movie. I can't remember the name of it. Do you remember? This is like 10 years ago. He did like some dance competition movie. It was a narrative feature film, and they put Chris Brown. Chris Brown was real big at the time. Nobody went to go see the movie, despite the fact that he had armies and armies of things. I think that's mainly because the people who are fans of Chris Brown are fans of Chris Brown doing the things Chris Brown does, singing and dancing and beating up women, apparently. So they weren't really looking for Chris Brown, the movie star or whatever. We've seen lots of other examples of that. Cutter Hale's got the name of Battle of the Year. Yes, that was it. Battle of the Year was the name of the one I was thinking of. Yes. So anyway, we've seen other examples of people who are big major stars. Hell, I remember 10 years ago, a bunch of movie studios tried to get big YouTubers. Remember that? There was a beat there where a couple of studios are trying to get big, massive YouTubers and making their own thing. I remember they made like a horror film, like with like 8 of the biggest YouTubers in the world. Nobody saw it.
Yeah.
Nobody. That's not because those people weren't legitimately popular. It's just that the people who follow them like them in that thing. I'll give you another example, a little more close to home. You guys know, I think the best film critic on YouTube is Jeremy Jahns. I think the best pure movie critic is Jeremy. Him and Chris Stuckman are both absolutely fantastic. They're two polar opposites of each other. They both approach film punditry very differently. They both have huge audiences. Obviously, I know both of them. And Jeremy actually worked for me for a while when we were over at Collider. And our thought was, well, Jeremy has such a huge audience doing his movie reviews. Let's bring him on to Movie Talk, and he'll be great. And some of that audience will come over with him as well. So it was worth the investment for us. And while Jeremy was great on our show, I loved having Jeremy on that show. The reality was his channel's audience didn't really follow him over.
Mm-hmm. It was the people who liked both. If they liked our show and Jeremy, they were hyped.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely they were. But the people who were just there for his very quick, rapid style, quick cut reviews that are so funny, engaging, stuff like that, that's what they want to see Jeremy doing.
Right.
And I remember, Jeremy and I had dinner one night, and he kind of pointed out, he said, I just think my fans like seeing me do what I normally do. And I think that was a great example of that. All that is to say this. I think it's folly just to assume that because Taylor Swift has a lot of huge, massive fan base, that de facto automatically that means that they're going to come over and watch a movie that she directs when she's probably not even going to be in the movie or on screen. I'm not saying that the movie won't do well. It very well could be great. It might be Best Picture of the Year for all we know. We don't know anything, but I just think as a starting point, assuming that massive audience of hers will just come over because she's popular, we've seen a lot of test cases that show that doesn't necessarily hold true. So we'll see. I don't know, Rob, we talked about this last week about the Taylor Swift take, but Do you think that the studio can safely assume that they're going to get a big turnout no matter what opening weekend? Do you think they should be more cautious about that? What do you think?
Well, on one hand, obviously you have to make a good movie. At the end of the day, the movie has to be good. However, that said, Taylor Swift in her songs is a storyteller. And, judging from the short film she made that Sadie Sink is in and looking at her music videos and the people that she has access to, I think that her brand of storytelling, her brand of emotion, her brand of heartbreak, whatever it is she's talking about, if she can translate that message and inject that kind of emotionality into whatever stories she's telling. Because look, if she's going to go out and make some epic sci-fi film, I think she's not going to have a great audience, as good as her sci-fi movie might be. But if she can make The Notebook, whatever that is, whatever the Taylor Swift version of The Notebook is, and she casts somebody like a Ryan Gosling and the Taylor Swift proxy, whoever that actress is going to be, that's who I'm going to find to be most fascinating. If she does that, she's going to make $1 billion.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the movie has to, if she makes the great tragic, if it's Ryan O'Neal and Ally McGraw in Love Story, and that film was huge. If anyone is poised, but again, would I like to see a Taylor Swift erotic thriller? I kind of would, but I don't think her audience would necessarily. What they want to see, well,
Chris isn't so sure.
what they want to see is wrenching emotion and heartbreak and girl power and whatever she's going to do. And if she does it, man,
So it would be 50 Shades.
I think she's going to make a lot of money.
Chris, what do you think about this? Do you think that Searchlight at this point can just assume a certain high level of box office return just from her name being attached?
I think there's an expectation for sure, because I do lean towards Rob here of her music videos are already a spectacle that people really tune into. She really has a lovely artistic eye. She's a great storyteller, and she's become a really strong visual storyteller too. It's not just that she lyrically excels. Now she understands this medium very, very well. So I'm really excited to see what she does with a full-length feature, and I think a lot of other people are too. Does this guarantee like a box office smash? Not necessarily. Obviously, winning is what is going to cure everything here, right? We are going to have a really quality product come from her. But that opening weekend, I think, is going to be very strong. The Swifties are taking down Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
Come on, they can take down the box office too.
Plus, can you imagine the promo tour she's going to go on for that movie?
Oh, it'll be huge.
She'll be I wouldn't be surprised if she gives like free concerts in Madison Square Garden or something like that.
Just to promote
So
the
excited
movie.
for her Hot Ones promoting this.
Oh,
It's so good. Man.
All right, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? I think it's great that Taylor Swift is going to try directing. She's done it the absolute right way. She's built up slowly, done short films, going to start with a smaller film. I think it's the right approach to it. But can the studio just count on, because she's popular, that a lot of those people will come over from her music to see her movie? Historically, that hasn't always worked out, but maybe in this case, Taylor Swift is a different kind of creature. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's now move into our main topics here today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics here in the John Campea Show? Well, that's easy. You guys come up with our main topics. See, whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Chris, what is our first main topic today?
Our first topic comes from Alan. Hi, John. I've been really excited about the new Brendan Fraser movie, The Whale, after hearing about all the film festival success the film has been having. I just read a story that said the movie just set a new box office record for the year on per-screen average box office. According to the story, the movie made over $60K per screen on its limited release opening. How big do you think this movie can be once it opens to a wide audience? Thanks.
All right, Alan, thanks a lot for saying that in. And yeah, look, ever since The Whale came out and its first, festival screenings, and it was getting 8-minute standing ovations, and Brendan Fraser is taking home all sorts of awards for his performance in The Whale. Overall reviews have been starting to be a little bit mixed on the film as a whole, but everybody agrees Brendan Fraser is brilliant in it. Well, where's the film? They just opened it in limited release, and it's broken the record for 2022 for the biggest per screen average. This comes to us from the folks over at Screen Rant who write the following. Per Deadline, during the Whale's opening weekend in limited release, the film grossed $360,000 across 6 theaters. That's very limited release. This has resulted on a per screen average of $60,000 per screen, beating out its distributor A24's previous success, Everything Everywhere All at Once, to become the highest grossing limited release opening of 2022. Considering the fact that Everything Everywhere All at Once went on to become the highest grossing film that A24 has ever released, this could spell very good news for the Whale's prospects once it opens in more theaters. And that again comes to us from Screen Rant. Couple things to put this into perspective. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, on its opening weekend of $181 million, its per screen average, $40,000. The Whale's per screen average is 50% higher than Black Adam Wakanda Forever. Granted, one is a wide release film, one is limited release film. It is not apples to apples comparison, but still, just for a little bit of context, that's pretty damn interesting. Here's the other interesting thing about it. There's no marketing campaign. There hasn't been a marketing campaign for The Whale. They had a trailer for a trailer that they put out a while ago. What is that, like 15, 20-second thing where you didn't actually see anything except for Brendan Fraser saying one line at a moment? Other than that, there has literally not been a marketing campaign other than spreading the word about all the success it's been having at the various festival circuits. They're clearly holding back their marketing budget on this until it's imminent that the film's about to go wide, and then they're going to probably blow their load on that. But that just makes it even more impressive that you put it out in 6 theaters, assuming the big movie-going markets, probably New York, maybe Chicago, LA, things like that. But that is really damn impressive, all off of the hype that everybody's having around Brendan Fraser. Anyway, Chris, you see these results. This is very impressive numbers for a small limited release. Obviously, it's not going to be a 1-to-1 ratio once it goes wider and everything like that. But what stands out to you about these numbers that we're seeing?
I mean, honestly, how limited the actual marketing has been is really what's astounding here. I think what's really fascinating here is when you think about your average moviegoer, you usually don't think about a lot of the behind the scenes things in Hollywood, some of the scandals or things like that. A lot of people, and I use my parents kind of as the litmus test here, know about what happened with Brendan Fraser and are so excited for him to come back and are so happy for him. They started watching Doom Patrol because they were like, oh, heck yeah, the guy from The Mummy and George the Jungle is back on here. Love that guy. I really want to see him succeed. You have Sadie Sink, who is having a just fire year. She should have gotten award nominations for this season of Stranger Things. She killed it. So you have this incredible cast, an incredible story too that, you know, kind of hearkening back to last year's Coda, a family can relate to, your average movie-going audience can really relate to. I think a lot of people want to see this. They want to see it succeed, and they really love these actors. So I'm excited to see what happens when it goes wide.
Rob, these are pretty big numbers. This is a pretty interesting scenario, but what facts about this stand out to you?
Well, I think, first of all, like you pointed out, people have a lot of goodwill toward Brendan Fraser, but this is a New York and LA crowd. You've got filmmakers and actors, whether they're Broadway actors. I mean, when somebody delivers a tour de force performance like this performance has been reported on, I mean, he's been burning up the festival circuit for the last 5 months with this movie. So I think a lot of people in New York and LA are really curious about this movie. I think they all turned out for it. And the thing is, when you're going to see these films, it's especially on the weekends, you know, people will fill. The reason it's got a big per screen average is because people go to all the performances. So all the performances are selling out. It's not like, well, we want to go to the 8:00 performance. No, on the weekends, something like this, especially in New York and LA, people go to the movies early. They'll go to the first show, and then they'll go to brunch, and then they'll. So it's not surprising that a movie like this that has had and plus, it is kind of a gimmicky performance too. You know, he's playing a 600-pound dude. There's a lot, I think, to attract moviegoers to this movie. I certainly want to see it. I mean, I just want to know, John, you and I, that trailer they released had one shot of him in it.
We were taken. We were instantly taken.
I mean, I've never seen, based on one shot, I'm like, I'll roll out and see that. And apparently so did a lot of other people. So I think that the festival hype, the Brendan Fraser love, and the fact that it's supposed to be a great film from Darren Aronofsky, all of those things created a perfect storm that people went out and saw the movie this weekend.
To give it just a little bit more context about that $60,000 per screen average, of course, Father Stu, Marky Mark's Father Stu rolled out in theaters this past weekend. Anybody want to take a guess at what its per theater screen average was? Now, I remember The Whale was $60,000 per screen. Anybody want to take a guess? Come on, Taylor, take a guess. Don't look it up. Don't look it up.
You little cheating fact checker.
Okay, if I had to guess, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Just a wild guess. Throw out a number.
$1 million.
Okay. Well, that would break every box office record. Okay. Ray, come on, take a guess. What was the per screen box office average for Father Stu this week?
$8 million.
Okay, no. I think
think
you're
you
all
guys are
missing
listening.
how
The
this works.
equivalent of
I'm gonna
20
go- okay,
Wahlbergs.
$60,000 is the record.
Yeah.
That's 60,000, right?
What's that?
8,000.
Okay, 8,000. Rob, you want to take a shot?
1,000.
Okay, 1,000. Chris, you want to take a shot?
5,000.
$127.
So I was close.
So you were close. You're a million.
You had
guesses.
numbers in your answer.
Didn't Father Stu already come out?
I mean, it's their rollout thing for that is just crazy. But yes, Father Stu, which did its theatrical rollout, did $127 per screen
This
average.
might answer the question, but what is Father Stu?
Exactly.
It's the Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, I think it's probably what a lot of people are asking. This. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, even though there are a lot of caveats and asterisks to put beside it, it's still a really impressive result for The Whale, like a $60,000 per screen average, even though it's limited screens. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's going to equate into longer wide release success? Maybe yes, maybe no. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, maybe, the folks over at Father Stu should have gone over to our sponsor right now, MasterClass, and learned some things about filmmaking. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, MasterClass. MasterClass offers classes on a wide variety of topics, all taught by world-class instructors at the very top of their fields. Each class is broken out into individual video lessons, usually around 10 minutes long. And MasterClass is completely accessible on your phone, the web, smart TV, and available via audio mode to listen to classes on the go. They have over 2,500 video lessons from over 180 of today's most brilliant minds. They're all available anytime, anywhere on iOS, Android, desktop, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. Now, obviously, around here on the John Campea Show, we love our movies, so why not learn filmmaking from Jodie Foster, or maybe directing from Ron Howard himself, or the great Neil Gaiman doing his masterclass on the art of storytelling. And you guys have heard me talk about my favorite masterclass, Business Strategy and Leadership by Big Papa Iger himself, Bob Iger, the new and returning CEO of Disney. Guys, I highly recommend that you check it out. This holiday, give the perfect gift of an annual Masterclass membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/Campea today. That's masterclass.com/Campea. Terms apply. And thank you to our friends at We love Masterclass around here. I use it all the time for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Guys, remember, when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So if you go down to the description of the video, right near the top, you'll see links and promo codes to all the sponsors of today's show. And thank you again to Masterclass. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to main topic number 2, shall we? Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This comes from Brunson Taylor. Hey, John, been watching you since the 4-year consideration days with Dennis.
That's going back a ways.
Like you, I was disappointed with how the Boba Fett show worked out. I guess we're not the only ones because Tamara Morrison just came out and said that they need to get the character back to being a badass. Do you agree with him, or do you think the problems with the show went beyond just that? Thanks and have a great day.
All right, Brunson, thanks a lot for saying that in. And yeah, look, when Mandalorian season 2 came to an end, and they did that post-credit tag with Boba Fett walking into Jabba's palace, taking out Bib Fortuna, and then sitting there on that throne. I mean, come on. Like, the juices got thrown, the blood was pumping. We were all excited. It looked incredible. Because Boba Fett in Mandalorian season 2 was awesome. That was John Wick in Star Wars right there. He was incredible in that. So, like most people, I was really excited about Book of Boba Fett coming out. And it had a couple of episodes. A couple of the episodes were all right. And then somewhere along the line, the Vespa gang showed up, and they're talking about wars when it's really a gang of 6 people versus a gang of 12 people. And then came that, of course, big scene when they're breaking back into Jabba's palace, and he literally, Boba Fett, picks up a little droid, this little annoying droid just ran, picks up and holds it against the wall and goes, "I am Boba Fett." I'm like, this show has lost me. Now, that's not to say it didn't have moments. Bryce Dallas Howard came in and nearly saved that show single-handedly. Thank you, Bryce Dallas Howard. But it was just, by the end of it, it was just like, and it was slow. I'm not even talking pacing. I'm talking like even the action scenes. Like there's a scene where he's walking through the street and then he gets surrounded by all these guys and he's, and I know Tamora Morrison could go faster than that. I know he can be faster than that, but it's like, this lugging, sad, pathetic kind of thing. And again, while Book of Boba Fett absolutely had its moments, it ended up kind of disappointing. I'm just like, I like the idea of Boba Fett realizing, you know what, I've been living my life one way and I've just been screwed left, right, and center every time. I'm now out for me and I'm going to do things by my own code. I love that idea for a show. You just need to execute it right. And to me, that wasn't it. And now you're right. The actor of the show himself seems to kind of think that they did it the wrong way. This comes to us from Tamora Morrison himself, who said the following: "We've got to bring him back somewhere. We've got to see the old Boba Fett. We reintroduced him. We found out some stuff, but I think it's time to get him back to his badass ways. No two ways around that. So I think we sort of have to scope to go back there, but that's out of my control. I'll just see what happens." And that, of course, comes to us from the actor himself, Tamora Morrison. And I got to say, he's 100% right. He is 100% right. Because right now, if you had asked people 2 years ago, you want to see a Boba Fett show? Everybody's jumping out of the seat saying, hell yes. You ask everybody today, you want to see Boba Fett season 2?
8 million. Sorry.
People who are only watching this segment won't know what that's about. 8 million. But you ask that today, the reaction is not going to be as enthusiastic. They damaged a character that was utterly beloved for decades to add, no, Jen is my Mandalorian now. Din is my Mandalorian now. It's just, they really did that. So I really hope that he's right. I hope they will bring Boba Fett back because, again, I try to block the Boba Fett show out of my mind and I just go back to Mandalorian season 2. It's like, that's Boba Fett. That's the Boba Fett I want to see. The old grizzled war dog who will take you out without thinking twice about it. That's who I want to see. Anyway, Chris, I mean, obviously, on one hand, if you want to be a little bit more skeptical, you could say, well, this just sounds like an actor who's angling to get the role he's best known for back again. But I think he's making a point. What do you make of his words?
Yeah, I do think it's also, hey, I'm listening to these fans too, and I hear you, and I think we should get onto a different trajectory. Unpopular opinion. Was Boba Fett ever cool? Because in the original films, he gets his blaster cut in half by a lightsaber, and he falls into a Sarlacc pit. That's what happens. He wears spurs. That's neat. But I think Boba Fett tried to give this character a backstory, tried to give him some more meaning, because all we saw was this guy who we knew was hunting Han Solo, who had like a certain sound to the way he walked. And we decided he was cool.
Well, I think that came from Empire Strikes Back, though, before Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
The coolest comes from what we saw him do. He was single-handedly outsmarted Han Solo, was able to track them down, stood side by side, and spoke back to Darth Vader. He's not worth anything to be dead, sort of thing. Like, that's the part that made people feel like he was cool. But then you're right, we get into Return of the Jedi, and they didn't do a lot with him there.
There's just, there's some things there that I don't think add up to the legend of Boba Fett that was built up around this character and his action figures and everything. Now, then we got, to your point, we got the kind of Mandalorian, that Boba Fett that we wanted with the Mandalorian, with Jin. And I don't understand why then you have this badass character who kind of fills that bounty hunter vibe. You wouldn't go whole hog on the crime boss vibe that was coming up with Boba Fett.
Right.
Lean into that. Get your hands dirty. Don't have the Power Rangers show up. What was that nonsense on their little little bikes. Have a really cool adult story, like we saw with. I know we talk about this all the time, but what we've seen with Andor. Get gritty. Show a dark side of things, because a seedy crime town isn't going to be all about hope and working together. It's going to have some messed up shit happen. And I think that's what they laid into more than badassery.
Rob, what do you think about his words?
Well, I think he's absolutely right. I mean, the Boba Fett show it wasn't even true to itself. Like, they spent the beginning of it with him ingratiating himself to the Tuskens, right? And they basically are local control of that planet, of Tatooine. So the idea of him becoming a crime boss, he's like, oh, I've got this resource. I mean, even Duke Leto Atreides says in Arrakis, we need to make friends with the
desert
Fremen.
power.
We need desert power. That's what he was cultivating. And at the end of that show, they should have had the clans of Tuskens that were now unified under Boba Fett roll in and just take over that town and do something cool. And that show, it had no direction. It lurched to and fro. And now back to the Mandalorian for 2 episodes. It was such a weird, I thought, very ill-conceived show. And like you pointed out, why the idea of a man wanting to change his ways. He's been fucked over. He's a bounty hunter. He's like all these people, and he wants something for himself. And he's been given an opportunity. Literally, he's resurrected coming out of the Sarlacc pit. Here's a new beginning for me. That's rich drama. That's great for a character like Boba Fett. Tell us that story, and they just didn't. So I can understand. I mean, all Tamora Morrison can do is read the lines that were given to him. And after coming off of season 2 of Mando, where, like you said, he was taking out stormtroopers with his gaffy stick. I mean, that guy barehanded would just kill MFers, and it was awesome. And then you get to Book of Boba Fett. That was inexplicable to me. I watched that show slack-jawed most of the time going, what kind of a show is this supposed to be?
Yeah, and you know what? Like, narratively, one of the big mistakes they've made, like, I get it. You want to have these flashback scenes, right? And going back and we're finding, they literally did that for like 3 episodes. We had to go to those flashback scenes to get the background story over the course of 3 episodes. And granted, when he comes back to the village and finds all of his friends remember I said, like, when Willow's friend died, I didn't feel it. When Boba came back to the village and found all of his Tusken family dead, I felt it. Like, that was great. But it was drawn out over 3 full episodes to get that one moment of payoff. And then from there, it just kind of went down. And then they did all this inexplicable stuff. Why is he trying to fly over the Sarlacc pit? And he knows he climbed out of the Sarlacc. Why did he think his armor was still in there? He literally climbed out of the Sarlacc pit with his armor on. I mean, it was just filled with those types of moments. And it was just like, and wait, why does he rule this? Why does he rule this planet? Oh, because he lives in that big house with 6 other people. It's like, what? There was never a sense of scale or scope or anything.
No, and also it's called the Book of Boba Fett. I really wanted to know after Django's head was cut off in the arena in Geonosis, well, how did he go from there, holding his father's head in his hands, to becoming the Boba Fett we know and love? The Book of Boba Fett made me assume that I'm going to get chapters of his life.
Yeah, rather than 3 episodes of flashbacks with the Tuskens, how about 1 episode of flashbacks with the Tuskens, 1 episode of flashbacks of what happened after the events of Attack of the Clones to see how he became who he was. But anyway, what if, could have, should have, would have, it is what it is. Guys, question is for you. What do you think of Tamora's comments here that they got to get him back to being a badass? Like, not everything has to be dark and harsh and whatever, but they gave us a tease of him in Mandalorian, and then they kind of dropped the ball in Book of Boba Fett. Do you think we'll ever see Boba Fett again? Do you even want to see Boba Fett again? Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3, shall we? Chris, what is our 3rd main topic today?
This one comes from James Lockman. Hey, John and crew. Production has started on Joker Fuada this weekend, and director Todd Phillips posted a photo on his Instagram of Joaquin Phoenix in character as Arthur Fleck with the caption, "Day one, our boy, #Joker." It's just a photo of him getting a shave, most likely in Arkham Asylum. I loved the first Joker film, but I'm curious for this next film because it's supposed to be a musical, so I can't wait to see what they come up with. Your thoughts?
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in. And I still remember the absolute joy I felt when they made the announcement that they were doing a Joker movie that was totally separate from the DCEU. It was a totally standalone universe, because I had for years been screaming to the heavens, not every damn movie you make has to be part of the shared cinematic universe. The comic books don't do it. The comic books tell side stories and isolated stories and Elseworld and what if kind of stories. Why don't we get that in comic? And then they came out and said that. And of course, the songbirds of the naysayers came out. Nobody will care about a Joker movie if Batman's not in it. Yes, they did, because that movie made over $1 billion at the box office, and it won the first major Academy Award for a comic book film, with Joaquin Phoenix obviously taking home Best Actor, got a couple of other big nominations as well. Massively successful. The movie was supposed to be a one-shot, but when you make $1 billion and you get nominated for Best Picture and you win Best Lead Actor at it, yeah, minds get changed, and they decided to do a second one. And so we have Joker 2 Folie à Deux, two something, two fools, two, I can't remember what the exact translation of it is. I'm Canadian, I should know my French, but I don't. So we've got that coming. And now let's bring up that webpage there, Jonathan. Now we've got our first look at the first set photo that the director himself has put out. You can scroll down a bit to get there, and there it is. He put this out saying, our boy, day one, first day, there he is in Arkham Asylum. He looks like, I don't know, what has he got, cigarette burns on his arm, or is that bad needle marks or whatever?
Meth.
Maybe in Arkham Asylum, he's in there getting himself a shave, all that kind of stuff. And it's that, Rob, the word I use a lot, tangibilization. It's real. They're actually shooting this damn thing. Now, the first thing that we should point out, though, is clear up a misunderstanding. The movie is not a musical. It's going to have musical elements. Now, this comes to us from Coming Soon, who wrote the following. They said this: Joker Folie à Deux will once again be directed by Todd Phillips. The film will feature the return of Joaquin Phoenix as he reprises his Oscar-winning role as the titular DC villain. He will be joined by Grammy Award-winning superstar Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Further details about its plot are still being kept under wraps, but the movie will reportedly feature some musical elements. That's the key part there, some musical elements. The 2019 film was both critical and commercial success, with a worldwide gross of over $1 billion at the box office, making it the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. It received recognition for multiple major award-giving bodies, including 2 Oscars and 2 Golden Globes, both for Best Actor and Best Original Sound. All right. So here's the question. When they announced that they were going to be doing a Joker 2, I remember there being quite a bit of enthusiasm and whatever. I'm just being honest with you here, because I'm dying to see the sequel. I'm all for this. I am all in. That said, I don't feel the same enthusiasm from a lot of the general audience at this point. Like, even from the emails and social media messages and comments I get from a lot of our own viewers, I have not been getting a lot of sense of excitement about this. Like, I've been getting, I'd say over the past 3 months or so, like a lot more anticipation and enthusiasm about Avatar than I am about Joker. I'm wondering, Rob, and again, this is me as somebody who's very, very excited to watch this movie, but could it be that the novelty of what that first movie was really was just meant to be one movie? Like, can they franchise this? Can this one make $1 billion as well? Are people as excited about it now as they were when the first one came out? I don't know. What are you sensing?
Well, I think that people are a little confused as to the direction that this has been reportedly going off on. You've got Lady Gaga, who's playing Harley Quinn. Now, I hear this, and to me, this is right up my alley. I'm like, oh my God, because yeah, you could do another Joker story, and what is he going to do? Fight Club it and become a Tyler Durden and build an army of Jokers and go out and wreck the city, whatever.
You sold me.
Well,
I mean,
well, to me, the idea that two people share a madness, and that whatever their shared madness is going to be, and in terms of musical numbers or whatever, I would imagine part of this story, we're going to see the madness that happens between them exemplified by musical numbers and whatever's going on in their heads. And I'm sure I looked at the first Joker and I'm like, okay, here's what I don't understand. If you have the same filmmaking team and you've added a powerhouse talent like Lady Gaga to this, and we saw her in A Star Is Born, She was great.
She was
loved her
really
chewing
good in
up
Star
the
Wars
scenery in
Born.
House
Yeah.
of Gucci. You know, we make fun of it here, but I like the. So I'm a terrible Italian accent guy, but I just
according to that movie, you nailed it.
I just think that whatever this is going to be, it's a creative leap that I get excited for. Because who wants the same thing? And I think a lot of people just want. Well, I just want to see the Joker. Look, man, you got Todd Phillips back, you got Joaquin Phoenix back. You want to see something. They're going to give you something you haven't seen before. I mean, maybe it's not going to be mad love like it was in the comics, but it's going to be something that I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you, the fact that Warner Brothers is making it, the fact, remember, the first Joker is only $65 million. I mean, they could double the budget of this and let Todd Phillips do some crazy ass whatever leap that they're taking. I'm so there for it. And I think once we see the first trailer or whatever it is that they're going to show us, people are going to be on board. I think people now are just kind of like, what is this?
Chris, you see the first image. I think the first image is like, I love it when a single image can kind of translate and give you the sense of the feel of something. I think this does a lot of that. But anyway,
Yeah, it's a
what
great
do you, the
image.
first image comes out, what do you feel? Where's your excitement level for it? Have you been sensing the same kind of enthusiasm for the second Joker as we did before? What are you feeling?
I mean, full transparency, I am not who this is marketed at. You know, I was one of those people who I saw the Joker once and went, I'm good. I'm done. Because to your point of, oh, did they go on a Fight Club tangent? That's how I viewed this, was a lot of people then were like, you have that ending where people got the Joker and understood him on a level. You had audience members who understood him. And I went, oh, I don't like this at all because I've met people like this and I don't want to interact with these people.
Right.
So off the get-go, I haven't been excited about this. I really enjoy Gaga. I think she's an incredible performer. I think Joaquin Phoenix is a brilliant actor. I'm interested to see what they do with this, with that shared madness concept. It sounds like it could be something that is very, very interesting and intellectually gratifying to see how they make that all come to fruition. I just don't think a lot of people have been super psyched about this because when you see the end of that first movie, you go, all right, we're done. So does he miraculously survive? He, after getting killed on that cop car, he's totally fine and he just goes to Arkham. That's kind of my disconnect right now, is just well, there shouldn't be a sequel. There literally shouldn't be a sequel from the way you all chose to end this character. But I can suspend my disbelief for that. I think a lot of other people, too, are very confused about that. It's a musical. I don't know what's happening here. They said it was one and done. It just seems a little muddled. But I'm sure, like you said, once that trailer drops, I'm sure people's expectations will be different than what they are right now.
Like once we get an actual taste of it and we see it,
Yeah.
that's where we're really going to be able to see where's the audience's anticipation level. Because if that trailer drops and it's quiet, then we'll know. But if a trailer drops and everybody explodes, then we're going to know. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Are you anticipating a second Joker? Or are you like, hey man, that first film was like perfect. It should have been left alone. Are you like, I can't wait to see the further journey of this character? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. By the way, in the live chat, JB wrote in the live chat, I don't want to see Joaquin Phoenix slow dancing in his underwear. Well, you know what? You would if he was wearing the underwear of our new sponsor, or the newest one today, our friends at MeUndies. The holidays are officially upon us, and it's time to start celebrating. Do your thing and holiday your way with MeUndies. Because it's the most wonderful time of the year to try MeUndies, because they're currently offering a very merry deal. Get 20% off your first purchase with free standard shipping and free returns when you go to MeUndies.com/Campea. Guys, you know I've been wearing MeUndies for a while now because I used to be like everybody else. I would go to the big store, buy the biggest box of the most generic underwear, and I thought that was good enough. But ever since I started MeUndies and started wearing the most comfortable underwear I have ever worn in my life, I swear on this Christmas season, I will never go back. So get your holiday shopping finished early and start making time for yourself with the new MeUndies holiday collection. Their undies, long underwear, and sleepwear are made out of the softest, most supple fabric you've ever felt and are guaranteed to bring you comfort and joy to all of your loved ones. Shop their classic plaid prints for a traditional, picture-perfect style, or get festive with their adventurous limited edition sweater prints. Available in sizes extra small all the way through 4XL, MeUndies has what you need to make all of your favorite people smile this holiday season, all in one convenient place. So to get 20% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at MeUndies for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. I am wearing MeUndies right now. They're the most comfortable underwear I've ever owned in my life, guys. You owe it to yourself to go and check them out. All right, with that down, let's move into main topic number 4, shall we? Chris, what is our 4th main topic today?
Well, first of all, my bad. The Joker didn't die in that movie. That was just wishful thinking on my part. Sorry, guys. So, topic number 4 comes from All Hail Todd. In the words of Mugatu in Zoolander, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I just saw that Marvel is actually pushing for Best Picture Oscar nominations for both Thor 4 and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Now look, I didn't hate either of these movies, but come on. Does this show a major disconnect between Marvel and the fans if they actually think either of these movies deserves a Best Picture nomination? What are your thoughts?
All right, All Hail Todd. By the way, if that's a Mom and Dad Save the World reference, respect, my friend. All right. So, look, this comes on the heels of something that happened last week where the People's Choice Awards, lest we forget that last week at the People's Choice Awards, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness won Best Film of the Year. All right.
Happened.
Yeah, I mean, so look, so if you're asking, does this show a big disconnect between Marvel and the fans? Well, the fans voted Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness as the best movie of the year, which once again proves my point about why I don't cover award ceremonies that base their results on fan voted stuff, because you got people voting on movie awards that have seen 2 movies this year. It's just utterly ridiculous. But yes, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. They just started their Oscar campaigns, and Thor 4, Love and Thunder, and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness are both getting Oscar pushes from Marvel. This comes to us from the folks over at CBR who wrote the following. They said this. They said, that's not it. We go, the picture, according to the official For Your Consideration site, Disney is pushing for all of 2022's various Marvel Cinematic Universe installments to be considered for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. All 3 of the aforementioned movies are also targeting nominations for Best Visual Effects, Best Director, Best Costume Design, and Best Adapted Screenplay, and many others. The Academy has yet to officially announce the nominees for 2023's ceremony, but the final list of contenders will be unveiled in the coming months. Disney is pushing hard for Wakanda Forever in particular. The emotional blockbuster, which also served as a tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman, has been fronting Angela Bassett, who plays the grieving Queen Ramonda, for Best Supporting Actress. And that again comes to us from CBR. All right. Every year around this time, some movies will get some people writing and say, John, did you see that this movie is being pushed for Best Oscar or Best Picture? And this, and this, and this. Guys, you got to understand this. It doesn't actually mean anything. These movies are going to be, their studios will push all their movies for your consideration. All of them. So when somebody writes in and says, John, did you hear that X movie? The studio's pushing for a Best Picture? Well, but they're doing that for all of their movies that came out this year. As a matter of fact, we were talking about this on the show once, and Aaron Cummings was telling us that it's literally written into a lot of contracts that when award season comes around, that the studio is obligated to do a For Your Consideration campaign for all the acting categories, the directors, Best Picture, Best Screenplay, all that kind of stuff. They're kind of obligated to do it. The studio giving a push doesn't actually mean anything. It just means that they're obligated to do it. In some cases, they believe in it. In the case of Wakanda Forever, Disney and Marvel do believe that Angela Bassett should be given consideration for Best Supporting Actress. And by the way, several of the awards bodies agree. And that's why when you go to their For Your Consideration stuff, it's always her front and center. That's the one they're really actually pushing. Does Disney or Marvel believe in any multiverse that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness or Thor Love and Thunder deserve or will get a Best Picture nomination? Absolutely not. They don't believe that one bit. But it is the time of year that you say, for your consideration, you list all the different categories. And by the way, there are several categories at the Academy Awards that I think Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness could legitimately look at getting some nominations, more of the technical aspect stuff. So same thing with Thor Love and Thunder. There are probably 1 or 2 that you're going to see nominations for, possibly, but not for Best Actor, Best Director, Best Screenplay, and certainly not for Best Picture. But again, Hey, Doctor Strange won Best Picture at the People's Choice Awards, so whatever. Anyway, Rob, you see this, Marvel's putting out for your consideration, Thor, Love and Thunder, Best Picture. How seriously should film fans take that sort of thing?
Well, like you pointed out and like Aaron pointed out, a lot of the time there's contractual obligations that they have to fulfill. But when they're mounting a ad campaign, remember, they're taking out advertising campaigns in the trades. They're spending a lot of money. But in the case of, say, Wakanda Forever, you have Ruth E. Carter, the Academy Award winner from Black Panther, who also did the costumes and all the technical sound design, visual effects. They're as much a part of the Oscars as the other categories as well. So what they do is they take a blanket ad campaign out for films that may indeed have Oscar chances. And that's why they lead with Angela Bassett, who is also an Oscar winner.
Yep.
So a lot of the time you might laugh. And Taika Waititi, in terms of Love and Thunder, also is an Oscar winner, albeit for screenplay. But, he still is an Oscar caliber filmmaker. So why wouldn't they? And it's another way to get more year-end awareness of their product and everything out there. I don't think they think they're going to get Best Picture nominations, but certainly both of those movies are worthy of technical nominations. So maybe they'll get those.
Chris, I'm sure you've probably been a part of several for your consideration campaigns. And, look, how seriously should we look at this? We see, people see that Marvel's putting up this thing saying, for your consideration, Best Picture, Thor, Love and Thunder. I mean, what should people take away from that?
I mean, it's spaghetti on the wall. You're throwing all of it there and you want to see what sticks. That's it. Because a lot of times, too, we need to remember that these movies do get lots of technical awards, all kinds of editing awards, that kind of stuff. But it's usually just all the for your considerations. When I did the SAG panel last year of helping do the nominations for who was going to be up for the SAG Awards, every single film that was made that year put all of their actors up for Best Performer, Best Ensemble, no matter what that movie was. All right. Morbius is going to be in the mix. Cocaine Bear is going to be up.
Yeah, but Morbius deserves to be in the mix.
Fair. Gosh, what beautiful acting, the dancing alone. But this is always what they do when they make movies. You submit it for everything and you hope something sticks to it. This isn't something we should read too much into, though, about a disconnect between Marvel fans or any of the executives who are pushing this. This is just kind of par for the course.
Let me bring this up. The one film they mentioned in the article quite a bit is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Of course, the first Black Panther won a nomination for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. First comic book movie in history to get it. If there is any Marvel film this year that could be in the running for a Best Picture nomination, it is probably Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Oh, yeah.
So let me put it to you on this. Rob, we'll start with you. The over-under chances that Black Panther: Wakanda Forever gets a Best Picture nomination this year. Remember, we're going to get 10 nominees. Is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever going to be one of those nominees?
No. I don't think it is.
Chris?
I'm not sure. It's usually 10 spots at this point, but we've got a really stacked year.
Yeah, I'm going to go one further. Not only do I think it won't get a nomination, it shouldn't get a nomination. It's a good movie. I like Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. It's a good movie. It's significantly less quality, in my opinion, than the original Black Panther. And again, it's just too many things in it left it a little bit wanting. So good movie. Yeah. Best Supporting Actress nomination? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm all on board for that. I am 100% on board for that. But a Best Picture nomination, I don't think so. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? You see Marvel is pushing Thor, Love and Thunder and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse Matters for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Do you take that seriously? Do you understand that maybe we shouldn't? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move into main topic number 5, shall we? Chris, what is our 5th main topic today?
This comes from Josh Nitkin. Hey, John and crew. I hope you had a great weekend. I was on Twitter, and James Gunn made a tweet celebrating the 44th anniversary of Superman the movie. A fan asked him if we will see a Superman on screen, to which Gunn's response was, quote, Superman is a huge priority, if not the biggest priority. Superman is my all-time favorite hero. Regardless if it's Cavill, this gets me really excited. Gunn gets it. What are your thoughts? Thanks and bring on the filthy.
All right, Josh, thanks a lot for sending that in. And yeah, listen, right now, the fan community is kind of sitting on a razor's edge, waiting to find out what is James Gunn and Peter Safran going to do with DC. And there are a lot of different options that are available to them. But what is clear is that something has to happen, right? The DC studio just put out a superhero film with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in it, and it didn't even make $400 million at the box office. Something's got to be done. Something has to change. The car isn't running right. Now, I know there are people out there who just say, the hashtag restore the Snyderverse people. Yeah, let's just keep doing what hasn't worked. Right. And listen, and you're talking to a guy who thinks Zack Snyder's Man of Steel is like the most criminally underrated superhero film of all time. But clearly the path has not worked. The audience, the general movie-going audience, generally doesn't trust the DC brand right now, evidenced by the fact that you had, I think, an amazing Shazam movie, did not make $400 million. That they just put out what I think is an entertaining Black Adam movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, could not make $400 million. I'd be very curious to find out what happens when Aquaman comes out. Like, considering the first one, I thought was very entertaining, made $1 billion at the box office, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Look, regardless of where you're at, though, it is clear that the DC brand is not living up to its potential. I think we can all agree on that statement. So something's got to be done. The report came out of the Hollywood Reporter last week that Wonder Woman 3 is canceled, the Superman plan is canceled, all this kind of stuff. And the R word started to be running around. Reboot. Time to reboot. Now, look, I'm on record that I believe the best course, not the only course of action, but the best course of action I have believed for years is fresh start. Instead of trying to continually just slap on Band-Aids and do little patchwork on this broken down car, have it towed away, get the Carfax, get a brand new car in, start from scratch, clean slate, go. Even if that means that my beloved Henry Cavill is no longer Superman. Because the universe and the story comes first. But that doesn't mean it's the only option. He has several other options available to him, whether it's in terms of soft rebooting or, using the Flash in such a way to kind of reset the universe in a way. There's a lot of different options. But when that Hollywood Reporter story came out, it looked like some people interpreted it as that meant Henry Cavill was gone. They're not going to do Superman anymore. Well, like you just mentioned, James Gunn was asked directly by a fan, are we going to see Superman in the movies any further? And James Gunn replied, yes, of course, Gunn wrote about the possibility of future Superman. Superman is a huge priority, if not the biggest priority. Superman is the biggest priority. Now, whether or not that's going to be Henry Cavill, he remains very ambiguous about that. There were some people on Twitter who were trying to spread a false rumor that there's some kind of animosity between Henry Cavill and James Gunn. James Gunn addressed that. He said, that's so weird, Gunn wrote to the person saying that there was beef going on between Cavill and Gunn.
Yeah.
Gunn wrote, that's so weird that you're so plugged in. Anyway, I just had 40 people reach out to me to say that you got kicked out of your mom's basement. So sorry, man. So anyway, making the point that, maybe you shouldn't believe everything he's saying. But he's not saying Henry Cavill will be back. Not saying he will. I'll tell you why, even though we don't have a lot of new information in this, we're going to probably, him and Peter are meeting with David Zaslav this week. And hopefully some reports are going to come out from that. We'll start to get a little bit of a picture of what's going to happen. But the one thing I love about this, and I've said this for a long time, while he's not my personal favorite superhero, Superman is the granddaddy of all superheroes. You cannot, with a straight face, build a DCEU without Superman being, if not the cornerstone, one of those pivotal posts that holds up the weight. He's got to be one of the key pillars. In an ideal world, you build it around the Trinity. You build it around Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and then you start to give a lot of attention to some of their great auxiliary characters as well. But you cannot, with a straight face, have a DC cinematic universe, whether it's a rebooted one, whether it's a patchwork fixed up one, whatever, without Superman being front and center. You can't do it. It's laughable. He is the granddaddy of all superheroes. He is a superhero by which all other superheroes are measured. Again, I'm not saying he's my favorite one. He's not. But he's arguably the most important superhero of all time. So I love that James Gunn is saying, yeah, listen, we're not going to tell you anything about our plans, but we'll tell you this. Superman's at the center of it. He's not only important, he could be the most important priority we have is to get Superman up and running. Now, of course, in my little heart of hearts, my little Italian joy spot, I'm hoping, hey, make it Henry Cavill. Whether it is or isn't, I'm just glad to hear that Superman is going to be given such a high priority. Anyway, Chris, you hear about this. James Gunn is saying he's not just going to be there, not just big, he might be the priority. Number one. Does that give you any sort of insight as to which way this whole Peter Safran, James Gunn, DC universe may or may not go? How important is it that he singled out Superman here? What do you think?
Well, I mean, all of those things about changing the power balance of the DC universe, I think we're going back to the drawing board on that, right? And a lot of the imagery that's been tweeted out, too, that we've speculated on, ad nauseum, seeing that image from Kingdom Come and everything, it feels like Superman has been part of the plan, right? And that they're moving forward with him becoming the epicenter of this universe. Now, that's not to say we're only going to get stories revolving around Supes. We're not immediately jumping into the JLA. We are certainly not launching with Kingdom Come because that would be bananas. There's going to be a building up to all of this. So I'm sure we will have a lovely, wonderful moment where Kal-El is featured once again in a really astounding way, not just kind of a post-credit-y scene or popping in for a final battle or anything like that. But I do think this is also a reminder for everyone to take a deep breath, right? It's, hey, we understand DC Comics, Superman is very, very important. So maybe let's stop with a lot of the speculation, which I know obviously we're guilty of here, but let's not act like we are in the room with James making these decisions and talking about how people have beef with each other or what's happening. It's all going to work out, and the universe as a whole is what's going to come first. And I think that's something that fans can get really behind because they have great IP to work with that should be just shown on screen in such a tremendous way. The failure to do so far has been really disappointing because these are some of the best comics that have ever been created. I'm hoping that we finally give them their due.
Rob, you're reading these comments here. What is your takeaway here from like James Gunn saying, hey, listen, Superman is going to be one of these pillars? How do you interpret that?
Look, I think you should take him at his word. I mean, James Gunn has earned first of all, our trust and our respect as a creative. I mean, going all the way back to Slither and Super, what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy. Suicide Squad, you can't look at its box office as any kind of indicator because it was that day and date HBO Max.
Yeah, bullshit.
And
Thanks,
also,
Jason.
the movie itself is wonderfully fun.
Oh, it's so
watch.
good. That Suicide Squad movie is so good.
And I think the problem is if you look at what James Gunn and Peter Safran are dealing with now, other than Joker, which made $1 billion, and other than Aquaman, there's nothing, and we're getting already another one of each. There's nothing else that I would keep. From a box office standpoint, I love Henry Cavill as Superman, but his movies that he's been in do not earn him a place at the table. They didn't make $1 billion. Not even Justice League did. So those are gone. So there is nothing from his perspective. If I was James Gunn and Peter Safran, I'm like, we have to come up with a 10-year plan. I don't retain anything. Joker and Aquaman, not our deal, even though Peter Safran produced a new Aquaman. You start from scratch. And Superman is indeed the cornerstone. Because you start, okay, we're going to build 10 years of a universe. And brick number 1 is Superman. He is the foundational character on which the skyscraper, the daily planet that we're building, that is the new DC universe. How are we going to incorporate that? Because look, Wonder Woman's tainted. Wonder Woman 84 ruined that. What, rightly or wrongly, I'm not making judgments. I'm just saying from a studio standpoint, you're in a position where everything old is new again. You're going to start from scratch because when do you get that opportunity? They were put in place to build a plan from scratch, and that allows them to go, okay, how are we going to incorporate Green Lantern? How are we going to incorporate Wonder Woman and Batman? And they can do it all with a design, which no one brought to the DC universe ever. And this is for the very first time, you've got two creatives that were given a specific task. And I think the first thing they've done is there's a dartboard on their whatever room they're working in Aspen or whatever, they talk amongst themselves. There's probably a giant dartboard, and in the middle of that dartboard is Superman. and everything flows out from him, and they throw darts at Superman and figure out how can we make these connections, because, and they know what they are. Whatever those connections are, they're done. And they're going to be presented this week in one hell of, I would imagine, a PowerPoint presentation. It's going to be great.
There's also something, he put out some tweets the other day, and we often reference the part of James Gunn's tweets the other day. And we said, look, regarding the Hollywood Reporter story, some things in it are true. Some things in it are half true. Some things we haven't decided if they're true or not yet, right? But there was another part of his tweet that we haven't really covered that I think really comes into play here, which is I've already seen online, well, I'm giving up on the DC if they don't keep going. So here's the thing. James Gunn and Peter Safran already understand they are in a situation where no matter which option they choose, there's going to be people who are unhappy. It doesn't matter. They could do nothing. It's going to make a lot of people unhappy. They could do something. It's going to make a lot of people unhappy. They could do something drastic, and it's going to make a lot of people unhappy. James Gunn said this in one of his tweets. He said, Peter and I chose to helm DC Studios, knowing that we were coming into a fractious environment, both in the stories being told and in the audience itself. And there would be an unavoidable transition period as we moved into telling a cohesive story across the film, TV, animation, and gaming worlds. Gunn wrote in a Twitter thread published on Thursday, we know that we are not going to make every single person happy every step of the way, but we can promise everything we do is done in service to the story and in service to the DC characters we know you cherish and we have cherished our whole lives. That to me, look, it's an unfortunate thing that we are in a situation where whatever they do, it's going to make a bunch of people unhappy. That tells you how mismanaged this DC universe has been up till now. But they recognize that they're in this situation and they say, look, we know we got some pain in front of us because we're going to make some decisions and there's going to be a lot of people who are unhappy. There's already a bunch of morons like doing the hashtag fire James Gunn thing already. Idiots. But the thing is, he's saying, look, we already know there's going to be people unhappy, but just understand as we go through the rough period that is to come when we make our announcement, that every decision we make is about trying to service these incredible characters. It's to service the story we are going to try to tell, not over the course of one or two movies, but over the course of the next 8 to 10 years. And to me, and also hearing that he's cognizant enough to know that Superman's got to be one of the big pillars of that, I just, every single day I'm reminded why James Gunn and Peter Safran were the right picks to put in charge of this thing. And you take anything else away from these other words he was saying?
Well, I think in a way, to me, this choice of this dual leadership role is probably one of the most exciting things that I myself, as a genre film fan, a fan of science fiction, fantasy, horror, superheroes, it's exciting to me because we have two characters, two men, two creatives. One guy was in charge of the Conjuring verse, and I've loved the Conjuring verse as a horror fan. The other guy, James Gunn, is a lifelong card-carrying, dyed-in-the-wool geek that began his film career working for Lloyd Kaufman at Troma, writes novels like The Toy Collector, makes horror films like Slither that you love, I love.
Slither's I still think it's his
makes
best
a
film.
dark
I love
indie
Slither.
film about heroics with Super, and then goes on and does Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel. If there's one person that's one of all of us, all of you fans out there, it's James Gunn. I mean, in terms of, you think about the geeks that have made good, whether it's Guillermo del Toro, whether it's Kevin Feige, James Gunn encompasses all of that. And now he's literally been given the keys to the universe to do whatever he's going to do. After, how many times does he have to give us good product already? Give him the benefit of the doubt. We should be excited. We should be walking down that rainbow bridge, looking at the bright future that DC has. Perhaps not that. It would be Marvel. They'd get sued. But you know what I mean? They'd go somewhere where there's a great sunlight out there, maybe the top of Olympus or something. The gods are smiling on us, fans, and they're going to give us something great, probably something all new. They're going to take a page from the old DC, all new, all whatever. And that's what we're going to get.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you make of these comments? It's that regardless of whether it's Henry or not, we can all hope and speculate, but that Superman is going to be one of, if not the biggest priority at DC moving forward as they create this universe that they're going to be creating. What do you think about some of the comments that James Gunn has made? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all that down, it's now time for us to throw it over to you guys, and we're going to take your thoughts, theories, questions, and opinions. We are now opening up the super chats. If you have a thought, theory, question, or opinion you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire that in now. Do it quickly, though, because we only leave those super chats open for just a couple of minutes. Now, before we get to those, though, we want to go over and thank the main sponsor of our show here today, my mobile service provider, Ryan Reynolds' own Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you get another 3 months for free. Mint Mobile lets you order and activate from home with eSIM, while saving tons on phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know I've been using Mint Mobile long before this holiday deal, and I have to say it is the perfect time to switch. I have absolutely loved using Mint Mobile, and like I've told you guys many times, I am now spending less than 1/3 of what I used to spend under one of the other major mobile carriers. And now with the whole buy 3 months, get 3 months free deal, it's even better. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily and effortlessly with eSIM. Or if you need a new device, for a limited time, get 6 months of free service when you buy a select device and plan. So guys, for a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months for free by going to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. Guys, if you are paying anything for a cell phone bill, why are you not checking out Mint Mobile? They have been fantastic. Go and check them out. They'll save you tons of money. Make sure you check them out. And thank you to Mint Mobile for being a sponsor of the John Campea Show. All right, guys. With that all down, let's get into your live comments and questions here, shall we? Chris, what do we got up here first?
From Darth Ciano, Polar Express got me obsessed with hot chocolate. Pinocchio made me hate hot chocolate.
Yeah, I don't want to give anything away, but for some reason, hot chocolate plays a kind of symbolically a little bit of a central thing here, and it did nothing to make me, like, go and watch the menu. I wanted a cheeseburger. Watch Pinocchio, didn't feel like having hot chocolate. All right, what's next?
From Sin Vendetta, John, with all this Avatar talk happening lately, I randomly went back and watched your Avatar review you filmed almost 13 years ago. Great review, but I'm just amazed seeing how far you've come. I mean,
just the video quality has come a long way. Yeah, I mean, like, even back then, like, I was like, listen, Avatar should not win Best Picture of the Year. I mean, yes, it is very much Dances with Wolves in Space. Even James Cameron said that. James Cameron said, yeah, Avatar is Dances with Wolves in Space. So what? And he's right, because every movie you can point to, you tell me your favorite movie, I'll tell you 7 other movies it borrowed from. I mean, so the question is, did it make a good thing? But yeah, it's, I went back, oh gosh, somebody sent me a link, I think it was to my review for, there was an action, it was one of the Crank films, and just, it looked like I shot it on a potato. I mean, it is crazy, and the audio quality was bad. It is, even just from a technical point of view, it's crazy how far we've come. Anyway, thanks for checking that out, man. I appreciate that. All right, what's next?
From CJ Rebirth, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious. That's from Parks and Rec.
Is it?
Yeah, it's when they're at John Ralphio's grave, and it's the two of them.
Oh my God.
Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious.
I miss those two, the brother-sister.
They're so great.
They're so great together.
I love the two of them. Jenny Slate and Ben Schwartz.
Please.
They're wonderful.
Oh,
Money,
they're so
please.
good together. And Henry Winkler is their dad. So
It's
good.
Perfect.
All right, what's next?
From Mr. Hank Dunn, I hate when people say gay people are being shoved down our throat. As a bi man, I've had gay people. Okay.
Yeah, never mind. Move on.
Raymond Verada. Her will play Belle or Beauty and the Beast live. How do you think she will be received given the racism at Little Mermaid? Her will be shown, will show her Filipino roots on her dress with Filipino text spelling BEL.
I'll be honest with you. I don't care. I mean, there's been this thing lately, the last couple of years, where they do these live presentations of these things on network television. I've never watched one. I've never cared. And I honestly don't expect to see much backlash, like as idiotic as the backlash would be. I don't expect to see much of it because I don't think many people care about it or are paying attention to it. Maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe all of you guys are watching these things. Great. But I really don't care about them at all. So I have really no opinion. Have you watched any of these network broadcasts, or whether it's the Peter Pan one or they did another one last year?
Not the Disney ones.
No.
Yeah, I just don't care about them, unfortunately. All right. What's next?
From Jai CSC, who wins a fight with their axe, Kratos or Zaslav?
Well, if there was under the Warner Brothers Games banner, Zaslav would axe it out of existence. So I'd have to go with Zaslav on that one. All right, what's next?
From Gabriel, did Doctor Strange make a spell to make the MCU forget about a giant robot man sticking out of Earth?
You'd kind of think. Now, of course, Rob has a theory that happened in a different multiverse. So it's not really a thing. So it's going to be really interesting. You know what? I think we are going to get all the answers in Ant-Man.
I think so too.
I think Ant-Man is going to give us all the answers. Maybe the ones we think, maybe completely different ones, but I think that one is going to give us a lot.
Even Kang saying, "You're an Avenger. Did I kill you already?"
Oh, he said, I haven't killed you yet.
Well,
Yeah, so we'll see. 66 days, by the way, until Ant-Man comes out. I'm looking forward to it a lot. All right, what's next?
From Rob McDonald, fun fact, Kate Blanchett voices Monkey in Pinocchio. We were talking about that this morning.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And by the way, I didn't love Pinocchio. I didn't love it. But man, it had some things were great, including the voice performances. Christoph Waltz as the circus leader, unbelievable. Ron Perlman as kind of the local Gestapo guy, unbelievable. Hogwarts' janitor as the voice of Geppetto, unbelievable. I mean, the voice performances in it are absolutely fantastic. All right, what's next?
From Lost Anchor Films, not a Golden Globes fan, but I'm so happy for Jeremy Pope. Both he and The Inspection deserve Oscar nominations, in my opinion.
Yeah. So this is the John Campea Show. Welcome to the show. I don't give a shit about the Golden Globes. So like, I actually had a few people writing to me, goes, "Are you going to cover the Golden Globe nominations today?" Why would I do that? Why on earth would I do that? They're pointless, useless, outdated things that, no, I'd rather pay more attention to, like, say, the National Board of Review, which we did, which named Top Gun Best Picture of the Year. I'd rather pay attention to the Critics' Choice, which put out their list of nominees. So, but yeah, Golden Globes, no Golden Globes from me. All right, what's next?
From Al Renshaw, Bob Iger sitting in his office. We got him back to Disneyland. The minute John walks into the park, take his money.
No one's taking my money. I'm not giving one more dollar to that fucking place. I'm going to walk in there, hopefully have some fun with my friends, and then walk out, and it can burn to the ground as far as I'm concerned. That place is such a rip-off scam.
You're going to have to pay for parking.
Oh, we won't, because Anne has her season pass. So we won't have to pay for parking. But the entire... it was like my last anniversary 2 years ago when we went there and they ripped me off. I realized, I started looking at the whole place differently. I'm like, because I'd gone 8 years, seasons pass holder for 8 years. I realized this place is just one big scam. Just one big scam. So Mickey, fuck yourself. But my wife wants to go. My friends want to go. If I can go and not pay a penny, listen, I still love what I love. I'll get on that Indiana Jones ride. That Indiana Jones ride is awfully a lot of fun. I will give credit where credit is due. But yeah, fuck Disney. All right, what's next?
From Dumbrodor, thank you, John. I thought I was a dick because I thought I was the only one who thought Pinocchio was such a dick.
Yeah. Again, it's just Anne going, I think Geppetto should throw him in the fire. I really think she should just be rid of that pest at this point. But now, granted, the character evolves as the movie goes on. But yeah, I just didn't believe for a second that Geppetto learned to love the little puppet boy. I just never bought into it. All right, what's next?
From Sean Ryder, while a Joker sequel isn't necessary, it will be cool to finally see a Joker actor able to reprise the role. Jared Leto's has been wiped from my mind.
You know what? You're right. Jack never got to play it again. Jared Leto did. He got to pop up at the end of the HBO version of Justice League.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really count. It was like one little moment in it. But obviously Heath, unfortunately, never got to do it again. You know what? I mean, Mark Hamill, but that's just animated. You're right. This will be the first time we see a live action.
Well, Cesar Romero in
Yeah.
the 66.
Yeah, but that was a TV series.
But they did a feature
They
film.
did a feature film, but it was of the TV series.
Right.
I don't know if we can count that one. So
Well, it's an original movie.
that's a really good thought. I never thought of that before. That's a good way of looking at it. All right, what's next?
From In My Humble Opinion Reviews, it'd be great if they do the reboot with the same cast in completely different roles.
Well, I mean, if you believe the rumors, they're talking about Jason Momoa as Lobo,
Which would be awesome.
which would be pretty damn cool. I mean, he was kind of genetically born to play Lobo. I mean, he is Lobo.
Yeah.
In many ways, he already is. And it's hard for me. Look, I don't believe in the X actor and X role thing, but even I would admit, it's hard for me to picture anybody else playing that role other than Jason Momoa.
When if you watch Slumberland, it's like the kitty version of a Lobo character.
Yeah.
And I've not watched Slumberland.
It's
so
adorable.
Really? Is it
yeah,
good?
it's really cute.
All right, I'm going to have to go check
I
it out
liked
because I
it.
really like Jason. All right, what's next?
From Mike's Movie Madness. Hey guys, a trailer dropped for a new Three Musketeers film. It's in French with Ava Green as Milady de Winter and Vincent Cassel as Athos. And it's a two-parter with part 1 dropping in April and part 2 in December. Yes, please.
By the way, Mike put in like a $20 super chat. Thank
Thanks,
you so
Mike.
much, Mike, for supporting us on that level. We brought that up the other day. This movie was first put on my radar a week ago or whatever.
Yep.
A fan sent me a link and said, John, there's this Three Musketeer movie, but it's a French film and stuff like that, but you should check this trailer out. It's really good. I'm like, all right, because I really like the story of the Three Musketeers. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
I mean, it's just a trailer. I get it. The movie might suck, but it is the best looking Three Musketeers I've ever seen. Like, you saw this trailer too.
Dude, you know what's funny? I clicked on it because it was like Eva Green, Three Musketeers. I didn't know anything about this. I mean, it looks epic. It's like Lord of the Rings epic because they made 2 at the same time, and it looks incredible. And finally, the Three Musketeers in French. I mean, you've got the
which
original,
I've never seen.
The original stories in French anyway, so it's like, wow. And it looks, I mean, no expense spared. It looks great.
Now, sadly, Tim Curry will not be returning to play the Cardinal, but still, it looks incredible. If you guys have not, and I get it, there are some people who are not into reading subtitles, but it is what it is. We all have different things. But if you can get past that, go look up this trailer because he's right. This trailer looks amazing. I cannot wait to watch this. All right, what's next?
From Corey Hensley, don't get a chance to comment much live lately as I no longer work remotely every day, but just wanted to send in some support. Happy holidays, y'all.
Oh, thank you, Corey,
Thanks, Corey.
very much. Yeah, I mean, look, I am amazed how many people watch the show live, considering that it is during school and work hours, both on the West Coast and the East Coast. 10:30 in the morning here in Los Angeles, like 1:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast. People are still in school / work. How so many of you guys watch this show live is crazy to me, but we're so glad that you do. And thanks for stopping in whenever you can, man. All right, what's next?
From Spencer Nielsen, I saw The Whale this weekend. While it aims to be Tennessee Williams and falls a little short of those ambitions, Fraser is really that good.
That seems to be, guys, the general consensus I'm hearing. That, actually CNN kind of put out a little bit of a harsh review on it. And they're usually fairly mellow on their movie, but the headline was actually, The Whale getting standing ovations at film festivals is baffling. Like, that's kind of thing. But even their review was like, the movie's pretty thin, it's very stereotypical, completely predictable, but Brendan Fraser really is that good. Then they're pretty harsh against the supporting performances. They say every other performance is really weak. Now, They never mention Sadie Sink by name, but that will break my heart if she's not good in it because I think she's got a bright future, but we'll see. But the general consensus I'm reading is that the movie isn't actually all that great. It's that Brendan Fraser is that great in it. Right. So I don't know. Have you guys heard? What have you guys been hearing from anybody?
Well, I heard it's based on a play.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was based on a play, and I heard it was a little stage bound in terms of its conception, but it's based on a play. That's all I've heard about it.
All I've heard is how great Fraser is.
All right. What's next?
From Al Renshaw, John, when are you and Anne planning on seeing Spirited? The music was catchy and it was a great movie.
Yep. Last night, Anne said it's time for us to watch Spirited.
Yay!
So we didn't watch it last night because we had other things going on, stuff like that. But I believe there is a 50% chance we're watching it tonight because we held off on it because Anne wanted to watch it in December. She didn't want to see it in November. She wanted to watch it in December. So we are either doing that or our friends that we're going to Disney with, who are giving me my free pass, we found out last week that they have never seen, they're comic book movie fans. They've never seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So there's a very, very good chance that we may come home from Disney, have a late dinner and say, look, we got to watch Spider-Man Into the Spider. If not that, then we're going to be watching Spirited tonight. Because obviously Ryan Reynolds is my favorite movie star. It's a Christmas film, all that kind of, I love Will Ferrell. So hopefully, maybe tonight. If not tonight, then before Christmas sometime. All right, what's next?
From Kyler Hodick, should Superman be a priority? There hasn't been a universally loved movie since 1980, and Superman has never appeared in a billion-dollar movie.
I think what you just said there, while everything you just said is true, I think that highlights why it's that important. Why it's that important to do it. Because listen, the thing about Superman is, Rob, you talk about this all the time as well. He is an immensely difficult character to build a great narrative around because of who he is. Listen, one of the things I loved about Superman Returns was the fact that it really went into the character of Kal-El, and it went into it like kind of an introspective of the whole idea about what happens when you're the God Man, and this is now your home, but you feel so separated from everybody else on this planet because you are so different. And that's unfortunately what Bryan Singer did not do, was take that concept and make it an exciting movie at the same time. But as a character movie, I thought it was really riveting. It's been really, really difficult. But like I said, I agree with what you said. But to me, that just emphasizes the need to make that, because your DC, if you look at something like Injustice, Gods Among Us, right? Your DC universe has to be built around the premise that there is somebody called the Superman out there. And that kind of builds the foundational DNA blocks of what this entire world is. That the entire world has to be aware that there is this being known as the Superman. And that changes your world. That's what makes your world different. I don't know. So I would say it kind of emphasizes, Rob, he raises a good point. Like, Superman has never been a billion-dollar film. So why is it important? How would you express why is it important to kind of make Superman a pillar character?
Well, I think because, as far as DC goes, like you said, Superman might not have been in a hugely successful thing financially, but he's been ubiquitous. Whether it's in the animated shows, whether it's in Superman and Lois with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher.
Smallville.
There were the Superboy shows. There was Smallville. Superman has been around the whole time. It's just like his own comic books. They're not elevated to the status of where everybody, look, Superman is not cool. Superman has to be made cool. And we've never seen that happen yet. And I think that if somebody can do it, James Gunn can.
MJ Joseph B in the live chat says, he's no giant man sticking out of the ocean. It's true.
I feel like that's part of Clark's whole thing, though, is he's not cool. I think that's the appeal, that he's awkward, and because of the way he has to hone in his powers, he's so off-putting and corn-fed and sweet that it's this weird dynamic.
But when Superman the movie came out, that was cool.
Okay.
I mean, when that movie came out, I remember as a kid sitting in that, just the credits blew me away. Mm-hmm. And then all of that movie was the whole world loved that movie. It came out a year after Star Wars came out. No one had ever seen a superhero film or superhero treated like that on the big screen with John Williams' score, with the giant set pieces, with Krypton exploding. I mean, it was huge. And it had a love story with Superman and Lois. I mean, the villains were wacky, but they were still,
you understood why they were the way they were.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was a zeitgeist movie. That's what Superman needs. Superman himself doesn't have to be cool.
Okay, cool. I just want to check.
But a Superman movie has to be cool.
I get you now. Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's one of the reasons why I think Man of Steel is so profoundly fantastic, because it took a slightly different approach to Kal-El and Superman, where it's like, okay, let's say you're this kid who is so radically ostracized and so different from everybody else, and you have no idea why. You literally find out as a kid that you are not even your parents' child. You are an alien being who popped up in a thing, and then trying to wrestle with what does that even mean with who I am? And then you go on this life quest about trying to figure out who and what you are, and how do you interact with the world, and what is your place in this world? And the way they did that with Henry Cavill, what I think what Zack Snyder did with that movie, and this introspective about how does he even find his place in the world? He doesn't even know who he is. And that's what I loved about that. They found a way to take the Superman, make him relatable in many ways, because a lot of us try to figure out who we are. And then they brought in Zod, and that movie's so fucking good.
But you know,
I love that movie.
Do you know what it's missing? And this comes from me as a huge Zack Snyder. I love Man of Steel.
A giant man sticking out of the ocean?
No, what it's missing is joy.
Yeah, it missed a little bit of that.
And
yeah.
like you and I can watch a Superman movie. I don't necessarily need it. But even if you look at Superman the movie, the whole opening Americana stuff with Glenn Ford dying and I know we're here for a reason. When Superman first emerges in Metropolis, there is a montage of Superman being Superman, and it is joyful, and it is fun. He even rescues a cat out of a tree. I mean, but he takes down a cat burglar. He rescues Air Force One. He does all this stuff. So there's true joy. And then when he sits down with Lois Lane for that first interview, it's like Superman and Lois are flirting. Superman's like flirting. What color's my underwear? I can't see through it because it's a lead planter. And then when she walks out, he goes, pink, 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 your underwear. And then it's fun. You're like, oh my God, it's awesome to be Superman. And that's what was missing from Superman was joy. Now you could still do what Zack Snyder did, but give us some joy back. Superman is joyous.
All right, what's next?
From Matt Boyle, just watch Brad Pitt's Cool World for the first time, and I don't know what to say about this movie. I'm stumped.
That's
Cool World is so weird.
I remember we did a rewind on that movie a long time ago, and that is just one that you ask, that exists? Yeah. I mean, that came out after Roger Rabbit, right? Like this was post Roger Rabbit. I think they were trying to relive maybe some of that, but yeah, not so much.
This movie, I met a girl working on Free Willy named Jennifer Hundley. Have no idea whatever happened to her. She was easily one of the most beautiful women ever that I ever dated. And the movie I took her to was Cool World.
Wow.
And I walked out of it thinking, could I have effed this up more? And the answer is probably no. Although it worked out for a while.
All right, what's next?
From Gabriel, did we actually land on the moon? Yes, I worked at NASA and I get real upset about this.
Dude, we have coverage right here. Clearly.
I mean, you can get a powerful enough telescope and actually look at our landing sites on the moon. You can look at them.
I went to a Christmas party once where people started arguing about this, and it was this whole to-do of just like, we definitely didn't land on the moon, and I tried to be very diplomatic of, well, I absolutely understand why you could think that, and then it was, see, Chris said it, and she worked there. Everyone was very drunk.
You worked at the moon?
I worked at the moon.
I worked on the moon.
There's actually a great YouTube video about how we didn't have the technology to fake a moon landing in 1969.
Ooh.
That's a really
That's
cool.
fun.
It's this guy talking about, I forget what it's called. It's one of the oldest YouTube videos, but I've watched it a lot. We just didn't have the technology to fake it.
All right, what's next?
From Harry Katsaros, I'm so sorry I butchered your last name. Watch Spirited on Apple. Best Christmas movie ever. Heartwarming, funny, smart, and uplifting. It is truly special. Guys are robbing yourselves by not watching it. This film will fill your soul with sunshine.
Oh yeah.
It really is cute.
Remember, the only reason I didn't watch it was not because I don't think it was because we were like, this is a movie you need to see in the month of December. And now here we are in the month of December, going to watch it. I love hearing all the great reviews. It'd be great if it really is that good, because I did not believe in the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. I thought this is a stupid idea. And it filled my cold heart with love. I just felt love again after watching
joy.
it. And if Spirited does that same thing, it'll be truly a Merry Christmas. All right, what's next?
From Watchtower 01, sending in a $50 super chat.
Wow, thank you, Watchtower.
Hey crew, what was the one scene or movie that made you fall in love with superhero movies? For me, it was the helicopter scene in Superman 78.
You've got me. Who's got you? It's the best.
This Margot Kidder's line. That's a good question. I'm not really sure. I mean, look, as a kid, I loved, growing up when I was a kid, the first Superman movie, sure, when I saw that too. But I think the one that really did it for me was the very opening of 2000's X-Men. Like I was as shocked as everybody. When you're going into a comic book movie, you're expecting a certain thing. And they start with a Nazi gas camp. And I'm like, and you're seeing this kid being torn away from his mother. And like you, in 60 seconds, you're feeling the horror and the weight and the gravity. And I was just like, I never thought a comic book movie could do this. I never thought, I loved Blade and all that, sure, but I was watching that, I was like, I never thought a comic book movie could do this. And I think that was the moment that I really, really fell in love with comic book movies, was at that point, because of what that new era that movie ushered in, that this is what comic book movies can do. And it's not something they'd ever really thought about before. All right, what's next?
From Mark24 Gaming, just some support. Thank you so much,
thank you, Mark.
From...
Scroll up a bit. There we go.
From Blood Inside Out. That makes sense. Not to be biased or anything, but when Tay-Tay's movie comes on, the top 3 box office movies are going to be number 3, The Meg at 1 trillion, number 2, The Meg at 5 trillion, and Taylor's movie at number 1 with 10 trillion.
It's, look, I'm not saying the movie cannot be big. I'm just saying that the assumption that because she is so huge in this one field, that will automatically translate over to box office success. I'm just saying there have been dozens of case studies that have proved that that's not the case. So she's either going to make a good movie and it can have some success, but I think this assumption that, 900 million people, there aren't 900 million people, I believe, in North America, but that 900 million people are going to be rushing out to see her movie regardless, and it's going to make 400 million opening weekend. I just think you're ignoring all the history that has shown that it doesn't necessarily work out that way. So I don't. We'll see when it happens. We'll see where it comes. And was that it?
That's it.
All right, guys, and that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those super chats. Number 1, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. Number 2, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Shout out once again. Don't forget to check out our sponsors. Their links and their promo codes are all down below. And again, when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So, for everybody in the room, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Right beside him, of course, today was Chris Carr. Ray's been back there working diligently. Beside him, Jonathan Voico running the show. Taylor, of course. And my name is John Campea. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.